Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella. Outgoing Florida U.S. Senator George LeMieux tells a Forum Club luncheon gathering in West Palm Beach about the 16 months he spent in the Senate, what he thinks the high points and low points were of his brief tenure there. The Republican senator was appointed to the Senate seat by Governor Charlie Crist when Mil Martinez resigned. He said at that time he would not run for the election to the seat that Crist wanted. That was eventually won by Marco Rubio. After the speech, Newsmax caught up with LeMieux shortly before he left to fly back to Washington. Let's watch.
Senator Lindsey Graham said recently that Republicans made some poor choices in their candidates for the Senate this time around, and this is why perhaps they did not retake the Senate. Do you agree with Senator Graham on that?
Well, look, the people make the choices, and the people are frustrated. I saw a bumper sticker lately that said, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. So the people are frustrated. They don't want people in Washington, Republicans or Democrats, to just do things business as usual, and they're right. So I understand why they picked some of the folks they did. It's because they're frustrated.
Now, the Deficit Reduction Commission came out with a report that some criticize because it does not do anything to address Obamacare, the $1 trillion expenditure in Obamacare. Do you agree with that criticism of it?
I do. We need to repeal and replace Obamacare. I'm sympathetic to trying to help folks who don't have health insurance, but we can't afford a $1 trillion new program that raises the cost of health care and cuts $500 billion out of health care for seniors.
What do you think of the Deficit Reduction Commission report? Would you vote for it?
Well, it's a good start, and I think the people who voted for it are courageous because there's things in there that Republicans don't like on taxes, and there's things in there that Democrats don't like on cuts in entitlement spending. But the people who voted for it were courageous. We're going to have adults in Washington who are willing to work together to stop this outrageous debt and deficit.
The so-called DREAM Act, you spoke about it at the luncheon here. What are your thoughts on it as is? Would you ever support something like that?
I won't vote on it as is because it doesn't do anything to secure the border. You know, as sympathetic as I am to these kids who are brought here illegally through no fault of their own and now find that they can't get a job or in some cases can't go to college, we can't just pass this without securing the border because 5-10 years from now, we'll be doing the same thing. So if we could have real border security, then we could address what's happened to these children through no fault of their own.
Lots of talk about a border fence, but it never seems to get built. Do you see any hope for that happening ever?
Well, there are places in Arizona where I recently traveled to view the border with Senator Kyle where we have a border fence, where it works, where they have stopped illegal immigration in the last 3 years by 95%. We know what works now. What we need to do is properly fund that and replicate it throughout the border.
Obama recently imposed the ban on offshore oil drilling that he said he was not going to do. He was going to open it up. Now he's not going to. He shuts it down completely. What's your position on that?
Well, I think until we figure out what happened with the recent Gulf oil spill, that we need to be very cautious about expanding drilling. I am generally in favor of oil drilling. I don't want it so close to Florida that it's going to damage us, but I'm generally in favor of it because we need energy independence. But we have a regulatory structure in oil that didn't do its job, and I want to make sure that the government is ready or the private sector is ready the next time there's an oil spill to contain it. This administration's handling of the oil spill was tragic. It was completely incompetent. So I want to know that we've got the right answer in place to contain the oil if it spills again, and then we can start with more drilling.
There's widespread speculation that LeMieux, having tasted what it's like to be a U.S. Senator, will run on his own in 2012 for the seat held by Democrat Bill Nelson. We asked him what are the chances he will be a candidate.
If I look out and don't think that there's someone like a Jeb Bush, for example, who's going to run, and I don't think that there's someone who's going to be a problem solver, who's really going to go to Washington not to be a career politician, but to go there to do the work that's needed and come home, that's going to be compelling for me.
That sounds like a qualified yes. Are you running?
Well, we're going to make a decision pretty soon. I'm scared about the future of this country. We are on the brink of cataclysmic debt. I'm going to give my farewell address to the Senate and talk about that issue. And if we don't have serious people who are willing to go to Washington, make tough choices, and then come home, we're not going to save America from its government.